FNCS.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the FNCS. Today, we are looking at week number 3. We are back for the action in EU. And man, with one final chance here to make it to grand finals, everything is on the line for these duos. Now, of course, before we get things rolling, I just wanted to remind you guys at home, Legends Landing, it's a great place to not only watch the FNCS, but play Fortnite at the same time. 1v1 and 2v2 box fights, build fights, the Hall of Legends, a display for the Acts of Champions, and so much more. Make sure you guys swing by. Again, if you just want to watch Fortnite, do a little box fight, and then run back over to watch the FNCS, Legends Landing is a great place to do that. Now, of course, as we get ready for today's competition, we need some analysts who will be helping us call all of the action, break things down for us, and we've got none other than the best Taco and a mini miner who will be helping us out. Guys, welcome to week number 3. How are you guys doing?
I mean, it feels awesome to be here, especially knowing that this is the last stop right before the grand finals for Season 3. It couldn't be a better time.
Yeah, feels great. I mean, of course, we have the grand finals coming up, but to get there, some of our teams need some interesting placements, some interesting storylines to follow today. So keep your eyes peeled for some of our duos, because now this is the last chance to qualify for grands.
Absolutely. And myself, I'm getting every little cold. So if I sound a little weird at times, don't worry about it. It's fine. Everything's fine. So let's start with the series point leaderboard. This is kind of what we've been talking about every single FNCS. Remember, players play for 3 weeks, then they put points on the series point leaderboard, and then from there, the top 50 move on to grand finals. So if we were to take a look, we got to say, okay, well, what duos are maybe on that bubble, right? Which duos are right on the edge that are maybe sitting outside that 50th place that are trying to make it in? Well, we can break some of that down. So here's a look at just the top 10, right? Go ahead and orient your minds here. Seti, Cammy, 1,500 points, right? Quite a big number here. This top 10, they're looking pretty good for grand finals. So like I said, let's go to the very edge. Let's go to the very bubble of here and look at 50th through 59th place. So remember, top 50 are going through. So right now in that 50th place, they're fighting for it. So if we look down, 54th place, Archie and Nipsey. What do these guys need to do to come into today to try and make sure they end today in that top 50?
Well, for starters, the simple fact that it's Archie alongside of Jakey Fan who's going to be trying to make that competitive run for Archie's first grand finals lobby would be a phenomenal feat to accomplish. They've looked relatively solid, though, leading from opens, now competing here today in finals, and they're in a much better position than what most would probably haven't necessarily anticipated at the very start of the season, but they only need about a top 40 finish, really, and that should put them in a great position to essentially qualify for grands.
Yeah, it was all about this Jakey Fan clutch yesterday, of course. We all saw it. Solo clutching his way to success in that last game. Unfortunately for Archie, he went down. That Mammoth Pistol was his demise in that game. But throughout the whole day yesterday, Archie was definitely pulling his own weight, playing very well, hitting so much damage with that Mammoth Pistol. I'm expecting more of the same from this duo today, and hopefully they'll find a little bit of success.
Okay, so let's dive even deeper, right? If we looked at 50th through 59, let's dive deeper once again from 60th to 69th place. We have a duo here, Anas and Srap, right there in that 60th place. So we know you guys just mentioned maybe like a top 40. What about these guys? Where do they need to end today?
As far as Anasa and Strapcow are concerned, we're really looking at being safe, looking at that top 33 placement threshold, because, again, while there might be a little bit of wiggle room surrounding things, you just don't necessarily want to take those chances. And Anas, a player with as much experience to this game, and especially in competitive play, and granted, his duo partner is nothing to scoff at either, but that's the main thing for Anas, is that he did seemingly struggle to find a duo in the first place, so this is really more a testament to how well they're actually able to develop their synergy as a duo, and whether or not that's really come to fruition.
Yeah, Anas has definitely been struggling to find a duo that's worked all. Chapter, of course, he's played with. Hen, of course, he's played with many other players, of course, as well. Marine being one of them. So it hasn't quite worked out for him until this season. These guys are performing very, very well. Of course, a Danish duo as well, so they have that Danish chemistry. And I'm excited to see if they can perform today. They're landing at the north side of Shattered Slabs. I'm expecting big things.
All right, okay, so let's dive once again. We go deeper. 70th through 79th place. We have a duo here, Mesa and Voltiax, currently in 73rd place. So you guys have gone from top 40, top 30. Does this mean they need a top 20?
Well, it's very contrasting to a lot of these other duos in EU, Zeke, because they do need essentially a top 12 placement or higher to really solidify themselves in that position. So this has really got to be a monumental day for them to perform in. And I think that it's definitely within their grasp. I mean, they got a pretty decent drop over at Sunspoon Lagoon. And in general, while this team only has one grand in between them, that's Voltiax, who's actually qualified before. But this could be a big day, essentially, for both of them.
Yeah, a little bit of a less experienced duo, you could say, in the lobby, but I think they've learned a lot this season. They actually qualified to semi-finals in week 1, but they were lacking in eliminations, although their consistent placements were really, really solid. This week, they amped up the eliminations, they amped up the aggression, they went in with confidence, and that's why they're here today. So they're going to need all of that confidence today, because they've actually switched drops just to the north of Rumble Ruins, because they were, of course, going to that slap-and-go split. So this is going to be a big test for them. I think they deserve grand finals, though, so we'll have to see how they do.
I love to hear it. Now, as we get ready for more action from the FNCS, we have an interview, our favorite part of this show. We get to talk to one of the players, see how they are doing, and of course, get in the very minds. We have Archie standing by. Archie, what is going on? It's so good to see you.
Great to see you too, guys. Good to be back on the show. Obviously, missed out on last week's. Didn't qual, but we're back, and yeah, we're ready for some serious work.
Absolutely. So, man, we talked to you, in week 1, right? And things are going well. They're going pretty good. How do you feel like things are going now here in week number 3?
Honestly, after yesterday, don't think I've ever got so lucky. It was crazy. I don't know if you saw it, but it was just crazy.
Hard not to witness what went down there. I mean, I know your camp kind of sold it because you hear the call from Jakey Fan to don't peek. But in instances like that one, especially when it comes to the competitive play, what exactly is going through your mind? Because everything is a team effort, and I'm sure that you're probably beating yourself up over that one.
Yeah, I think in my mind in that moment, there was a monkey clapping 2 cymbals, genuinely. It was just, I don't even know. It was the most stressful, I don't even know what to say. I had 4,000 people watching, and I was just droned out.
So you know today you need around a top 40 to qualify to your first grand finals. What's going through your mind? How does it feel? And what are the strats going into today?
So yeah, we actually need a top 44. I woke up, I had about 6 hours sleep because I was buzzing from yesterday's stream. I mean, we're in theory uncontested. We're just going to play like normal. I actually feel extremely anxious. I am very nervous. I don't usually get nervous, but because obviously we're expected to qual now, to qualify, it just is about 10 times more pressure. But it should be fine. Nice and chill, nice little end game. You'll see me in the hit and bangs. It should be fine.
I love to see it. Okay, everyone, Fortnite fam, you guys need to go follow Archie right now. Archie, where can they find you?
Twitch.tv/Archie.
There you go. I love to see it, of course. Thank you so much for your time, man. Best of luck in the competition today.
Thank you very much. Have a good time, boys. See you in a bit.
Love to hear from Archie. Again, they need about roughly top 40, so we're in high hopes. And of course, I would love to see Archie go to grand finals. So once again, as we focus back in on the competition, there's a couple things we wanted to highlight. And Mini Miner here took note. He said, there's a duo I've got eyes on. It's Thomas HG. It's Malabuka. So why have they been so successful, Mini?
I mean, they've just been so successful all season. They've been successful all chapter. I mean, they've just had incredible placements across all majors. And of course, Thomas HD is a big reason as to why. We talk about Thomas HD when it comes to the history. He's yet to win an FNCS, but he's quite possibly one of the most decorated players on the region, but he hasn't quite made it happen. I think this season could be their best chance at success and finally winning that championship with, of course, Malabuka. And let's just have a little breakdown as to how they managed to find success in the current meta, in the current format, of course, in the semi-finals from last week. This is really where they're popping up because, of course, they just have this drop. They are contested sometimes they're uncontested, and this is really where they start to pop off, Take.
Yeah, it's really just how proactive they are with their drop as well. You can see them full utilization of not only those hollow chests, but the vending machines as well, choosing to expend their gold. Instead of going for augment rerolls, they'd rather just have that heavy ammo solidified, and for good reason, because of this guy right here. Thomas HD has been a fearsome opponent with this Mammoth pistol here in Season 3, and for good measure, he doesn't even like to take ranged ARs by any means. He doesn't need them because with that Mammoth pistol, he's able to confirm so much surge damage.
Yeah, everything that they do is absolutely perfect. Everything that they do is so calculated, even down to their positioning. We can see this 5th zone right here. Let's just highlight Thomas HD and Malabuka inside of this zone. Right there, as central as they could possibly get in a high elevated area inside of Frenzy Fields. They can have this freedom and this flexibility of positioning because of Thomas HD's ability with that Mammoth pistol. We know he can hit so many shots. And of course, the benefits of being in the center is that no matter where that 6th zone ends up pulling, they're going to have an equally short rotate, depending on no matter what that zone actually ends up being. So you see all the other players on the outskirts of zone hoping and praying that they're going to get that zone pull. If they don't, they've got a long way to go. They got to get on their bike. But for Malabuka and Thomas, they do get a nice zone pull. But of course, no matter where that zone was going to end up, they're going to have a short rotation. And it's all down to their pre-planning, their prep that they've done, of course, to be able to get into this position, because they've just been so proactive when it comes to positioning. They've been so non-static, if you like. They're always looking for something. And here is a perfect example. Malabuka and Thomas still looking for refreshes, even though they don't necessarily absolutely need one. They're planning ahead. They're playing well. And from this point on, they're just playing the low ground so well.
Yeah, and even just telling from their loadouts alone, it's a pretty big indicator that they've been doing a decent job at acquiring their combat caches as well, and that can be really difficult, especially in this no mobility meta that we've been seeing players kind of teeter-tottering on the brink of whether or not they're actually able to make it to their caches. So having that steady influx of materials off of whether it's refreshing limbs or just getting those caches and possibly even a vault, I think that alone puts them in a great spot to, again, just position like Minion was talking about, because they don't have to expend as many materials, so they've actually got those builds necessary to stay in the center zone. So if it doesn't pull their way, they're still not pulling the full aggro of the entire lobby.
Love to see it. So really quick, before we get started, I got to ask you guys your thoughts as players, especially with all this pressure, right? Like R2 was talking about, how do we keep our minds in the game and make sure we just do everything we need to do to make it to Grand Finals?
I think for more seasoned players, it's definitely just one of those instances where they're just going to let familiarity take over. But for players in a position like Archie, where it is essentially a newer feat for them, it's just staying calm.
Stay calm, focus on your own game. Don't worry about anyone else. Don't worry about the leaderboard. Just make every single game as good as you can make it and see what happens at the end.
That's right. It is here and now. Games are ready. EU is ready. And we know that you are as well. So, of course, let's get this popping. We've got Caster standing by. It's Jacob PR and Levin2K.
What is up, people? We are here for the final week of qualifiers. Of course, it's been an interesting 3 weeks, to say the least, right? I think we've seen the highs and lows of many of our storied teams. But here in this final qualifier, Jacob, there are no more excuses. There are no more opportunities after this. You have to make it in this week if you want to be in the grand finals. And the grand finals are so soon.
Yeah, and honestly, today, it's going to be a battlefield for a lot of these players to traverse through. We talked about it before the show. Teams already have their grand final spot secured. They're just defending the POI and the surrounding loot. So for those that are outside of that top 50, they're going to have to do everything that they can to get their points, get the highest placement possible. Because just like you just said, no excuses. This is the last go around because Surge Week, we've talked about it, is no longer here. Our top 50 teams go directly to grand finals.
Yeah, and I think you sort of emphasize it there, and it's a big deal. A lot of people this week going to be trying to set certain conditions so that going into grand finals, they have their POI secure, their strategy is locked in place, and that can cause for some chaos all around the map, but we'll do our best to follow it, of course.
Yeah, and just one thing to kind of note that for those teams that might not necessarily be able to fight for the series points, there's always that last chance major. But game number 1 and the marathon on the day starts right now.